is, as Heather said, I work as a health coach at UVA, and my services here are free to all UVA employees and their family members. So it's a benefit, and I have the honor of actually serving our UVA community. And so my background is I'm an RN, I'm a nurse with my master's in counseling, and I'm a board certified health and wellness coach and a personal trainer. So I try to put all those skill sets together and help my clients here move towards wellness. And so that's how I guess I got, what brings me here today is part of what, as I do as a health coach, is help clients that want to make changes in their health and well-being, help themselves basically, because in the coaching world, we believe that everyone has it within themselves to be their best self. And as a coach, I kind of partner with the client, helping them meet their health and wellness goals. And many times that does involve making changes. So that ties in to, I think, rather well with this topic, how to boost your immunity, particularly in this current environment of how we're all trying to manage our lives with COVID-19. So some of the information that I'm going to be sharing you today are things that I basically share with my clients all the time. I am following an article written by the American Holistic Nurses Association, so some of the information is from this journal as well. But again, a lot of it is something that I just pull from other resources as well as working with my client. So when talking about how to boost our immunity, well, most frequently, or particularly lately, I should say, I have clients, colleagues, friends approaching me. What can I do to stay healthy in this environment? Or what can I do if I get COVID? How can I get well? And so what is so funny, and one of my favorite responses to them is, you know what? You've got all the answers right here in the palm of your hand, because it's basically just living a healthy lifestyle. Yes, that is what boosts our immunity. So what I'm going to do is break down some of the different topics or different areas, different lifestyle behaviors, I should say, that if we kind of change them and live them the best we can, we are going to promote our immune system. So the first one I'm going to mention is sleep. And I know this is not a new topic, but it's still recommended that we get anywhere between 7 to 9 hours. And so because our body is at rest, and that just promotes a healthy immune system. And one of the things, I just like to mention just a few basic sleep hygiene techniques is trying to push ourselves away from the screen, particularly an hour or hour and a half before we try to sleep. And I am guilty of this sometimes, on my phone at night, scrolling. Did I miss any emails? Did I miss any texts from friends? And although that's not a bad thing, we do have a tendency to sort of maybe get charged up, or maybe we read a text or an email that kind of stresses us out. And then that does not help promote, decreasing stress, which again, if we're feeling stressed, it's going to be hard to sleep. So it just seems like kind of common sense, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning. Sleep is essential for our well-being. The other thing I wanted to point out too is that these things that I'm talking about, these behaviors, these healthy behaviors, are also essential for not only preventing chronic disease, but in some cases can reverse it. And so you're kind of, although I'm not a fan of this saying, killing two birds with one stone is, not only are, sleep and some of these other things we're going to talk about helpful for your immunity, they're just helpful in keeping us healthy and preventing us from getting other diseases. So sleep is essential. if you don't feel like you're getting enough sleep, I would definitely recommend maybe trying to focus on that. And as all behaviors, it's important to start off with a small step. For an example, when we're trying to make a behavior change, I think so many of us try to just go from 0 to 60, and we find that doesn't work. So start off with small steps. Maybe you're getting to bed at midnight. Or maybe saying, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. That's probably too much of a change. Maybe a small step would be maybe trying to get into bed at 11:45 or 11:30, whatever seems reasonable, but don't try to jump into a huge change. And then slowly try to, back off where, go to bed a little bit earlier. So in time, as weeks go by, you're finding yourself in bed an hour or so earlier. So it's the little steps that can get you there, because it's definitely making a change. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So again, getting sleep, adequate sleep, is essential. The next, I think, area, the lifestyle change that's essential, is nutrition. That's a topic that, and prevention of chronic disease of any of them, you can't avoid. So what is recommended for a healthy body and mind? And I'm sure this isn't a new answer, but it's basically fruits and vegetables and whole grains, beans and lentils. Those are the food choices that are high in nutrients, and they keep our body healthy, which can help us fight diseases. One of the things I like to stress is when people are trying to add these things to their diet, frequently I'll have clients who go, tell me what I need to do, because, tomorrow I'm going to start, adding all these things. Again, one of the things I want you to leave away with today, start small, start where you are. I typically recommend taking a look at what you're doing now. What does your diet do? I usually suggest or recommend my clients come up with a 3-day food journal. Why 3 days? Because typically in 3 days, we can see what a person does on the average. Again, excluding if someone was sick or they're on the road traveling, when they were kind of off their normal schedule. But 3 days is not hard to do, and it kind of gives us a good snapshot, a little picture of what someone's doing. And then I'm going to look for how often someone is getting in these particular ingredients, like fruits and vegetables and whole grains. If you're getting in one a day, let's say I'm getting in an apple, or I do have my my broccoli on occasion. What I do is get an average of what someone's doing, and then just add one a day for maybe 3 days that week. So maybe you're getting in one vegetable. Hey, let's try for 2, or add a fruit 3 days that week. And then as time goes on slowly, you start to add more over time, because too much fiber at once can cause some little bit of digestive distress. As we all probably have felt that at times, because it's full of fiber. So, and these, and the fruits and vegetables and the whole grains, they're also high fiber foods, which honestly is the ticket to losing weight, because fiber fills us up, and it allows us to actually eat a little bit more, because most of them are not so high in calories, but in bulk. So in addition, we get fuller quicker and potentially less likely to have cravings later in some cases. So start off just adding one of these food groups a day, and maybe keep that goal for several days that week. And then when you're ready, slowly in time build. Most dietitians are going to tell you that we need somewhere around, believe it or not, 10, sometimes 12 fiber sources a day. That's a lot. And so but if you think about it and you start thinking about how easy you can get them in, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. I always say strive for 5. So if you can get 5 in, you're well on your way, and anything over that is even better. So these food choices are essential. because they're just full of vitamins and minerals that can help boost your immune system. And the message is slowly increase these. Don't feel like you jump to 6 to 8 fiber servings starting tomorrow. Find out where you are, and then add a little bit at a time. The benefits are endless. And again, in many cases, people that change their diet to more of the plant-based, and even if you don't want to go 100% plant-based, if most of your plate looks like it's got fruits and vegetables, then you're well on your way to a healthier you. And the sources of fiber and fruits and vegetables is endless. So I usually share a list with my clients, and like, wow, I didn't know there were that many healthy foods, and there really are. And so typically most people can find something that they like. And the other little tip I like to share with people is a lot of my clients come in and they go, and they'll do a food log and go, oh, but look, I had cookies and cake, and I had, bread here and there. And what I try to do is, let's just focus on, instead of worrying about what you don't need to get, if you focus on getting in what you need, it's a more positive feel to it. And I would never tell someone never to have anything. It's not about not having things. It's about your goal is to, at the end of a week, is to kind of reflect back and go, wow, I made some really good choices. Most of my choices were healthy choices. We're all going to eat things that, maybe don't have a lot of nutrition in them, but what's life without some treats, right? So it's not about never. It's about shooting for sort of like an 80-20, 80% of the time I'm getting what I need. And then you'll be well on your way. So don't, block yourself in to have to be perfect, because I think that would be very, very challenging and frustrating. So think little steps. And then in time, when you look back, you go, wow, the difference I've made in just 3 months, and I think the benefits will be, you just feel better, which, hey, you can't beat that. So the next topic is, which I am really passionate about, is movement. Exercise boosts their immunity. There's just so much research out there. Exercise is medicine. And I do another talk, and that's what the title of it is. It is. Exercise has been known to, again, not only prevent, but actually reverse many, many chronic diseases. I saw the list one day, and I think it actually had 140. I won't list all those for you, but I think you get the point. Movement is medicine. And the American College of Sports Medicine, as well as other resources, still recommend we get 30 minutes of moderate intensity, at least 5 days a week. And there is research out there that said if you can slowly increase that, you even get more benefits. So it's almost hard to get too much. Obviously, let me just say, if your physician has given you some guidelines to follow, always follow those guidelines, particularly if you're on medications, you want to get approval from your physician about, what you should and shouldn't do. Some people have restrictions with heart rate and things like that, but very rare will you see, if ever, no movement. So I highly, highly, highly encourage movement. And the beautiful thing is that you get benefits from just, you don't have to go out there and run a 5K or a 10K. Any movement is greater than zero. In fact, the research out there is that 20 minutes of movement a day can boost your immunity, and as little as 10 minutes can reduce your blood pressure. Why deprive yourself of that? And it can be done through walking. We still recommend, again, that the number that I gave you of 30 minutes of moderate intensity, that's most of the time we're talking about aerobic type activity, which is walking, running, biking, even gardening, things like that. It can be actually housework if you feel like you're moving, enough. And As far as strength, there is a category of resistance work where you're using machines or dumbbells or balls or bands, that type of thing, or just body weight. And we recommend at least 2 days a week, at least 2 up to 3 of resistance work, the other category. I like to throw in there when I'm working with my clients, balancing agility is good too. But that's just more for injury prevention. So just remember, movement is good. You don't have to go out there and run a race. But what we'd like to recommend is slowly building up to 30 minutes. And what I tell clients is start where you are. If you're walking 10 minutes a day, maybe to and from your car, congratulate yourself, that's great. Can you start adding a couple of minutes each walk to maybe where you're to the point of at least you're getting closer to 30 minutes in time. But the benefits are terrific. And again, as little as 10 minutes a day has been proven to lower our blood pressure. So the point is, I have clients all the time, I don't have 30 minutes. The other thing is you can actually do 3 times 10 minutes a day. The research out there that the benefits are the same. So how cool is that? If you don't have 30 minutes at one setting, just break it up into sections. And I'll hear, but I only have 10 minutes. Then move for 10 minutes. There are still benefits, because I hear frequently, well, since I don't have that, there's just no point doing it. Yes, there is. It may be moving around in your office. In fact, I'm getting ready to do another video in a few days where I'm actually demonstrating some exercises you can do in your office. So any movement is good. It's essential for your immunity. It boosts your immunity. I'm going to say it again. Exercise or movement can boost your immunity, and it's essential also for your emotional well-being. Exercise has been proven to be a great treatment for anxiety and depression. So, okay, I think I've hammered that enough, but that is my passion. One of the other categories is toxic substances, and I just want to spend a couple of minutes here, is trying to avoid them as much as possible, particularly now and always. But as far as thinking about building your immune system, that is something we want to avoid. I know you guys pretty much know that smoking is detrimental, and it's definitely toxic to your lungs, or vaping or thing like that. So now more than ever is the time to try to cut it down or to quit, because this would be not setting yourself up to deal with some of these diseases and or the virus that's around. Alcohol is another one. It's recommended from several sources, actually, but I'm going to cite the American Heart Association, I believe, that recommends for women no more than 1 drink a day, or no more than 7 a week. And I think I've actually read we're actually no more than 4 at one setting. So, at the end of a week, they don't recommend more than 7 alcoholic beverages in a week. And this is something that you have to make a decision for yourself. At that point, after that, it does have a negative impact on your physical well-being, particularly, and emotionally potentially as well. But it's not going to boost your immune system. It's going to have a negative impact on it. For men, it's 2 a day or no more than 14 in a week. And just saying, this is something that maybe you can think about. And it's like most behaviors, it's something that some of these substances can be addictive, so you may want to reach out if you need help in any of these areas. There is help available. Maybe talk to your primary care physician. They're just resources. I think the Cancer Association actually has something on their website about helping you to quit smoking. So don't go it alone. Just reach out for help, and maybe use this ugly old virus as another motivator, right? Because respiratory is one of the areas that this virus hits. So smoking particularly would be a risky behavior during during, always, of course, but particularly during this time. I think the next category I wanted to mention is social connectiveness. You know, at the same time, we're saying, you know, stay apart, right? The 6 feet distance, is we're saying social connectiveness is so important. But it's a lot of research out there that staying connected to our loved ones, particularly, you know, family and friends, it boosts, it makes us happy, which actually is good for our well-being. It's good for our physical body too. So, you know, it can be a lonely time. So, you know, as you probably, maybe you yourself are experiencing some loneliness, or a family member, you know, or a friend, please try to continue to be creative and reach out through all our technology, you know, calling, texting, Zooming, whatever, just to stay connected to people. It's good for you and it's good for them. It is a challenging time to do that, but you know, I know some of us, you know, are trying to avoid some of the elderly friends in our family in our life because of that, but try to get creative and stay connected, because being connected, it's a basic need, almost like the other things that I've mentioned, you know, nutrition and activity. Staying connected socially is essential to our well-being. So don't overlook that. And if you are finding yourself lonely, reach out for help. Call a friend. It's okay to need help. We all need help. I've needed help during these times. And it's okay to reach out. It's important to feel like you've got love and support. And don't forget to reach out to others that you think might need it. I think one of the last essential behaviors or steps is just is stress management. And I don't know how many people I've heard, the clients that I am seeing a lot via Zoom or WebEx, and some are now starting to come in the office all masked up, and we're all kind of covered up. But you know, stress from so many sources, whether it's financial, and some of the employees here have been furloughed as well. And many of the nurses or other staff members are working with patients that are sick with COVID. I'm talking with clients that are at home, and we're trying to meet, and they have small children crawling all over them. And they report to me, this is also how I'm trying to work from home. So many stresses, and then the reports of, and I'm hearing a little bit more of this recently, like things at home are getting a little bit stressful. You know, relationships are actually being tested in so many different ways. You know, couples are noticing a lot more strain, whether it's just from, you know, somebody being furloughed in finances to just sort of being cooped up together for too long. And so stress is here and it's real. And we have to find ways to manage it, because stress can raise havoc in so many ways. And we've all heard what it can do to our bodies physically. It can raise the blood pressure. It can lead to, you know, heart disease and stroke. Because of the, you know, the cortisol production, then that stays high in our bodies for too long. There's some research out there that it has actually maybe led to cancer in some patients and some people. So, you know, you hear people report of heart attacks, stomach aches, headaches, whatever, you know, from chronic stress. So we know what it does physically. And emotionally, it can really lead to depression and anxiety. So we have to find a way to manage it so it does not manage us. So what are some things that we can do to help manage our stress? Some of the things that we've already talked about are beneficial. Movement is one of the greatest things you can do to combat stress. How many of you in the middle of the day have felt stressed at work or at home, and just taken a 15-minute walk to come back and say, I feel better. So you see how just the movement makes a big difference. So I encourage, going back to talking about physical activity, I encourage you to move. And it can be any kind of movement. It can be working in your yard. It can be walking. You can even walk and talk, right? You can even call a friend and sort of get in the connectedness at the same time you're getting the physical activity. And so exercise is a great way to combat stress. I am also a medical yoga instructor. In fact, I'm actually teaching some classes for your group. I've had 2, and I think there's 2 more classes coming up. And that came about, I decided to get that particular certification because stress, because most of the clients that I'm seeing, the common theme is stress. And so I wanted to be able to share some kind of tools to give my clients when I'm, what can they do when they're not with me? So deep breathing is a wonderful tool to have. And the diaphragmatic breathing is something that has been proven to actually reduce heart rate and blood pressure and make your heart stronger. So maybe if there's a few minutes in this session, we can actually do a couple of deep breaths, just so that you can feel like you've walked away with a really important tool. Taking deep breaths at times can just impact our physical body. The other things you can do, there's so many things like, yoga. A lot of people have found that to be helpful. Meditation, and in the class that I teach, we actually do some visual imaging, which is, a lot of people report that to make them feel better as well. I encourage people to do anything that makes them feel better. It might be dancing. It might be listening to your favorite music. It may be taking a warm bath with candles. Whatever it is, I encourage you to please find time in your day to do these things that you enjoy doing. And try not to feel guilty about it. This virus has really created more stress than most of us are feeling anyway. And it's essential. It's essential that you take care of yourself, for you and for others. And it's okay to take time for movement, which I think would not only help you physically, but again, will help the stress. But if there's a day when you feel like you just can't get to that, if you schedule a warm bath, if you schedule that 10-minute phone call with your best friend, listen to your favorite music. If it promotes a feeling of happiness or feel good, that's good. That's good for you. We're designed to be happy. Being happy is good. It's good for our physical, it's good for our heart, it's good for every piece of us. And we all need to do a better job of taking care of ourselves. And that's what it takes to keep a strong immunity. And I think I see clients all the time that feel guilty because, I don't have time for myself. Oh my gosh, if I'm doing this, I feel guilty. I should be taking care of, my spouse or my children. You have to take care of yourself first. Because if you're down and you're sick, you can't be present for them. So I want to give you permission to do this and empower you to do this. And one of the last messages I wanted to give, and then we'll maybe practice a couple of deep breaths and then open up for questions, is take the time to exhibit self-compassion for yourself, like I just mentioned. Be kind to yourself. When you're trying to look at these changes, some of the things, maybe you've heard some things that you might want to change, like, oh, maybe I should try to put more fruits and vegetables and whole grains in my diet. Or maybe, you know, I better work on my sleep. Now I think about it, I think I'm only getting maybe 5 or 6 hours. Or, you know, maybe I want to start moving more. Okay, whatever. Don't beat yourself up, first of all, if you feel like you're not where you need to be, because guess what? None of us are. None of us are doing everything right all the time. We're human, okay? We're not perfect. Pick something to work on. Maybe it's one area. Don't expect change to just start from A to B, okay? Like, I'm going to start tomorrow and then I'm going to keep going. Because change is not linear. To get to A to B, we go up and down, we take step backwards, and then maybe we move forward a little bit. And then we go up and down, we do circle, and then we finally get there. It is a journey. It's a process. So when clients, this is the coachee coming out of me, but I feel like I have to share this, is when people make changes, you know, they frequently will get a little frustrated because, you know, things aren't going well. You know, or, hey, you know, I said I was going to walk 3 times this week. I only walked once. I'm a failure. I can't do it. If you walked 1 time, you probably walked more than you did the week before and the week before, right? Celebrate your small wins. You know, pat yourself on the back when you do something well. Focus on what's going well in your life. All of us have some things going well. It may be that we got up today, right? And we brushed our teeth. It's nothing is too small to celebrate, particularly under these conditions. When you set goals, make them realistic goals, and praise yourself when they go well. And when you feel like you've gotten off track, just sit back and go, what would I do differently next time? What did I learn about myself? Because it's not about, you know, winning or failing. It's about winning and learning. We are learning. We don't fail. We're learning what's going to work well in our life. And we all have it within us. We all have it within us to get where we want to be. All of us. And when I work with clients, I try to help them see their strengths and that they are in control and they have what it takes to get where they want to be. So do a little bit of self-compassion along the way. Be kind to yourself when you're making a change, even if it's a little one. Celebrate the small wins and don't beat yourself up. Just go, okay, this is an experiment. I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to work in my life. The second thing is be kind to someone else. You talk about boosting your immunity. You know, have you ever watched something happen? Like maybe you're sitting on a bench somewhere, people watching, and you see someone else, you know, do an act of kindness for someone else, like, you know, maybe someone helping an elderly person get up, or someone needed help, just a little thing like helping someone carry the groceries to the car. Have you ever gotten that feeling like, oh, that feels so good just to see somebody do something nice? I didn't do it, but I saw that happen, and it's a feel-good feeling. Because it's good for our soul when we see that. And so just think about the benefit if you're actually doing the giving part. And I was reading an article on, I don't know, it was a couple of months back. And you know, unfortunately, I'm stuck having to do a lot of research sometimes, reading research, but I've learned to appreciate it. And the research is out there that when we demonstrate or perform an act of kindness, well, we know the benefits what that other person gets, right? They get the help that they need. There's a chemical reaction that occurs in our body that is good. That is good. It's good for our heart. So in these days and times, we all could use a little extra love, a little extra nourishing, a little extra kindness. So do it for that other person and do it for you, because I guarantee you it'll really boost that immunity. And gratitude, I know it's hard sometimes these days to think about things to be thankful for. I, like many, have had days where I was like, I don't really feel thankful for anything today. But if I push it hard enough, I can find something, and I try to start myself every morning with just one thing that I'm thankful for. It might be that I had a good night's sleep. It might be that the sun is out. Or I'll look over and see my four-legged baby, and I'm just glad he's with me. It doesn't have to be anything big. But if you can just learn to appreciate what we do have right now and focus on the things that are going well. And sometimes I know the list doesn't look very long, but there are things going well. But when we do have a tendency, when we are focused on our strength and the things that are going well, that's another way just to put us in a right frame of mind. It's good for our heart and soul, and it does boost our immunity. So you all have it within you to be where you want to be, but it starts with taking care of yourself. And these behaviors that or maybe fitness foundations or steps or whatever you want to call them, are the basis for a healthy mind and body. You have what it takes. You are in control. So think small steps. So it is at 10:40, and my goal is to end by 10:45. If it's okay with you, I'd just like to take a couple of breaths with you. And at 10:45, just open it up for questions. I'm pretty much available until 10 after. I did share with Heather earlier that some people are comfortable asking questions as a group. Some people might have a question that they'd just like to ask in private. Maybe Heather can give you my email. Do you have yeah, obviously you have my email. You can email me, and then we could schedule a time for me to call you back if you need help with resources or tips or things like that. I'd be glad to do what I can to help you. And you may not have any questions, but I just wanted to leave some time in case you did. So if you will, let's just take just 2 or 3 minutes, because I want you to leave feeling grounded, ready to take this day on. So we're going to do what we call diaphragmatic or tummy breathing. And if you'll just place your hands on your diaphragm, and I'm just going to stand up. You kind of see a little better placement sort of right here with my fingers sort of touching. And it does help to close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes. And when we're like in a live group, I'll just tell people to kind of lower their gaze a little bit just to sort of keep that on themselves. But let's just start the breath. Initially, just inhale normally. And on exhale, I want you just to slightly push down on the diaphragm, just slightly, not too hard, just to help get that exhalation out. So for now, inhale normally and exhale, just helping the exhalation with pushing down gently. Now in the next couple of breaths, on inhalation, I want you to just notice the rise of your abdomen, or your diaphragm, how it expands. And on exhalation, with the assistance of your little gentle pushing out, how it sort of contracts. So feel the expand of your diaphragm on inhalation. And for the last 2 breaths, just see if you could slow it down just a little bit more. And know when you're taking these breaths that you have the capability of strengthening your heart, of lowering your heart rate, slowing things down, lowering the blood pressure. See, you are in control of your body. Just by taking these breaths, you are slowing things down inside. This mind-body connection is so powerful. And it's so uplifting to know that we do have the ability to connect with our bodies and make it healthier. So just take another few seconds and just kind of go breathe back on your own, what feels natural. And then when you're ready, you can just, if you haven't opened your eyes, open your eyes and sort of come back to the present moment. But I find that, and you don't even have to do the diaphragmatic breathing, but if you just practice some deep breathing, another tip that I have found to be helpful is before you sit down for a meal, just taking, 3 to 4 breaths, slowing it down. It kind of prepares your digestion. Your digestive tract prepares it, it slows it down, it calms you down, and most frequently will kind of slow down. Helps you to slow down while you're eating, is what I'm trying to say, which is, there's so many benefits to that. So thank you for listening, and I will be available for a few minutes if there are any questions.
Beth, thank you so much. That was really wonderful. I like how you broke it down into taking small steps and not beating yourself up over not going from 0 to 100 in one day. I had a question at the end. You said something and I thought, oh, that's great. And it was trying, and it's not about trying and winning, it's about trying and learning. Was it trying, the first part?
Yes. Another way to say that is, and how people say, maybe I didn't speak very well, but trial and error, it's trial and learn. So many times when we, start set goals up, one of the common little blips, or maybe they weren't realistic, like, okay, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. for the next 3 days, starting Monday, and people haven't even paused long enough to find out, what gyms are available, what classes are available, or maybe they say 6 a.m., but maybe that wasn't the best time after all, So you want your goals you want to feel at the end of your goal setting that if you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident you are, you want to fall somewhere around at least a 7, or just reevaluate that goal some. And realizing, taking the approach that I'm still learning what's going to work for me. If this first week doesn't go well, you're not a failure. You just need to reevaluate. Maybe you picked a time of day that really wasn't the best. You forgot to remember that, I have other things I have to do at that time. Or maybe I'm going to do it at lunch, but you know what? That's right. I have a fair amount of lunch meetings. So you want to take the approach that it may take me a few weeks to figure out how this is going to work in my life. It's an experiment. If you're going to do an experiment, you got to see how it's going to play. So instead of saying trial, maybe that's what I was trying to say, and an error, it's trial and learn. I'm going to learn what's going to work. So it just sounds better for one thing. And, it takes us a while to figure things out. Some people think they're going to jog, but they find out they really don't like that. Or, they prefer walking, or maybe, I've been more successful when I bike, or they think they're going to go to a gym, but then they get there and they feel like they're just not comfortable in this kind of setting. They find after a few weeks that just a morning walk is better. So they didn't fail. They have to figure out what is going to work. You have to think about that. That should give yourself a break. You just got to figure out what's going to work. You're trying. You're doing the best you can. That's all we all can do. And we don't have to be perfect. Goodness knows, I've never met anybody on this earth that was.
Right. And here's a question. I appreciated what you said about nutrition. Could you talk a little bit about protein? I hear a lot of people, especially people who are dieting, very concerned about their intake of protein and calories also, which I think, you know, most people know it's more about like the nutrients you're getting than the calories. But how important is protein? Because that wasn't in one of
That's a great question. And what most of us that work and, you know, I'm not a dietitian, but work closely with dietitians, we share lots of clients, is, and this is a question that I used to have, and I think I finally have come up with a good answer, is what's so interesting, and I found this to be true, when I look at client logs, most of us, most Americans particularly, get in enough protein. We really do. What we don't get in is the fruits and vegetables and the whole grains. Now, I used to say, okay, but I know we need protein, which we do. And there are going to be certain incidences where certain kinds of, you know, like when I was working years ago in the hospital setting, you know, I worked with certain patients that had certain conditions or illnesses that needed more or less protein, like maybe, for example, and I'm not up on the latest on this information. So at the time, maybe a burn patient needed a little bit more protein just because of what they were, you know, trying to build cells and stuff. Well, it's still recommended that we get 3 small servings a day. I was going to actually bring in a plate to show you guys what a serving size is. I don't know if you want me to go find it or not, but about a cup-ish. And there used to be, and I think you could still find it, where they'd say, well, let's just say someone weighs 150 pounds. You would take half of that, and 75, that's how many grams of protein they need. But there are so many variances, like, for example, my mom, who is well in her upper 80s, who is not, I mean, she's does the best she can, but she's not as active as my son, who is 27, and he lifts weights and he's very active. Let's just pretend for this conversation they don't, but they weighed the same. Well, she's not going to need what he needs because he's active and he's, you know, trying to build muscle. And because he's so active and working on, he can afford a little bit more protein. Where, you know, my mom is not as active. She would probably not need, well, she wouldn't need the amount. So I try to make sure people are getting at least 2 or 3 servings a day, or recommend it. Most are, believe it or not. When I first heard that, I kind of wasn't sure. But then when I started looking at people's food logs, you can see that they're getting it in. So I give my clients that want it a little plastic plate, and it's got a container on it. So cool. And it, first of all, it shows people what what's a recommended portion size is. I mean, I think about some plates at home that are a little larger than this one, but it's shocking in a way just to sort of see what's a plate size that's recommended. And half of the plate, they really do recommend should be fruits and vegetables. So they take the plate, divide it in half. And you don't, I tell people, please don't feel like you've got to be perfect. This is sort of what you strive for and get close to. Many good things can be going on your plate. It doesn't exactly look like this. So don't lose sight of the good things. But half of your plate would be fruits and vegetables. The other half, divided up into another half. So quarters is what they look like. So you've got one side of your plate is open, fruits and vegetables, and the other side, like a quarter here and a quarter here, it's got a cup and a cup. Your size of your protein should fit in that cup, no more. There always are extenuating circumstances, maybe because of medical conditions. Maybe your physician or nutrition has advised you one way or the other based on your individual need. So this is speaking for general population. I want to, you know, if your physician has recommended one or the other, please follow that. But we do need protein. And I don't usually bring that up in the conversation until sort of later because most people are getting it. But once they're on a roll, getting in their high fibers and, you know, their whole grains, I go, okay, let's, you know, I'll kind of bring protein in the conversation. So about a quarter of this size plate, about a cup-ish, is essential. It's okay to get 3 servings of that in a day, and that's for the average person. Again, there will be reasons why you'd go up or down. So it is important, but we are finding that most people get that in. So we really push the, you know, the fruits and vegetables and whole grains, and beans and lentils still fall into that category. So you're getting protein from the beans and the lentils. Beans, you're getting the fiber and the protein. And, you know, it is recommended that we do plant-based. You know, I personally don't take that strong of an approach. I mean, I do try to make sure I'm getting in a lot of plant-based, though, because it is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody said they went 100% plant-based, and I didn't see the rest of it. Are they successful with that?
It looks like he's saying that it was the hardest part was to get all of the things, the protein, fruits, and veggies each day, and has shared a smoothie recipe that has a lot a ingredients in it.
And that's, and I'm so glad. And I don't know the name, can't remember, it was a he or she, but it was, that whoever brought that up, because I too, that's what I do personally. I wouldn't say somebody else, but somebody else obviously likes that too, because in a smoothie, you know, I'll put like some kale or any other kind of green in there with some fruit and a little bit of protein. The only negative thing that about a liquid, and it wouldn't apply to everyone, it unfortunately does to me sometimes, is our brain is designed to chew, and that's why we have teeth. So sometimes there are people that report if they have a smoothie or they have had a liquid meal, they get hungrier sooner, even though they had all these healthy ingredients in their smoothie. I mean, if you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm getting all these good things. But you know, and I noticed too, as much I feel really full when I drink the smoothie, and I know I'm getting all these great things, but daggone it, there are days when I get hungry sooner than not. And it could be from that because the brain doesn't always recognize that we've eaten, because we didn't go through the chewing process. Now, my son drinks a fair amount of smoothies, and I ask him, how do you deal with that? And he says he's noticed the same thing, but he always has a little something to chew with it. Maybe it's some kind of a protein bar, or it's granola, or it's something that requires some chewing, and that he, you know, he feels satiated and doesn't run into that. But if you don't have that problem, you know, you can make it to the next meal or your next snack. Because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that many of us, and that's what some dietitians have said too, because we don't chew. It's just it's a mental thing. And the brain, you see different times for this, but the most common one I see, it takes the brain about 20 minutes to recognize that it's full. So on those days when I'm rushing and I've done a poor job of planning, and so, you know, and I didn't allow myself enough time to eat between sessions or whatever, and I eat quickly, I do find myself getting hungrier sooner. And I think it's because the brain didn't realize that it's eaten. So that's the benefit of eating slower. We typically eat less, and then the brain goes, oh, okay, you have eaten now. Good job. Then I'm going to be happy for a while. So there's so many benefits of eating slowly. And they'll be doing another little presentation, making a little video of the importance of mindful eating, because I'm not saying I'm the master, okay? Because I am far from doing anything perfect, but I recognize the importance. And when I do eat mindfully, I have lived the benefits of eating less and actually feeling better. You know, because we don't want to, because once we get to that, oh, I've eaten too much stage, there's really no turning back at that meal. You can always go for the next meal, but, and so, you know, and also being mindful keeps us from starving too. We don't want to be at any extremes, because there is sort of you know, when the feeling you get when you're so hungry, you're almost out of control. And the feeling you get when you're just miserable from overeating, they're both uncomfortable. And so we want to kind of stay somewhere in the middle there. And there is what we call a hunger scale that's published in several resources, but it just talks about learning how to check in with yourself, and while you're eating, particularly staying in that middle zone. I think I've just had enough. I'm happy, but I haven't overdone it. And then always tell yourself, if you get hungry later, you get more food. So didn't mean to get off on another topic, but yeah, but plant-based, I think, wow, what a great way to get in, a lot of healthy food through a smoothie. And then you can kind of put something in it and make it taste better too. And if you don't get hungry later, God, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Now's a good time to experiment with it too. When it's hot outside, there's nothing like a delicious food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Beth. If there aren't any other questions, I'll just say also one of the participants recommended a book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And I haven't checked yet to see if we have it at JMRL. But
great. Name those sources, because you know that there's so many wonderful resources available, but I've not tapped in myself yet.
Yeah. And I'll just share, if anyone would like to contact Beth, you can email the reference department of the library at just reference@jmrl.org, and we can connect you with her information. So thank you very much. That was really informative. And this recording will be posted on JMRL's YouTube channel. I know I'll be sharing it with some friends and family who I think will benefit from it.
Oh, great. Take care of yourself. Oh, thank you. Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Reach out if you need to.
Thank you, Beth.
Stay connected. Bye.